So, hi everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of The Journey. So, in today's kind of video, I'll be rambling a bit about a few different topics. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is documenting your journey. The second thing I wanted to talk about is how to show your work. The third thing I wanted to talk about is kind of how to what's next, the thesis behind the podcast growth, and also the last thing I wanted to end with is what's happened this week and why I'm going to be taking a break from podcasting in September. So let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to kind of talk about is so for those firstly who are new here, so the journey is basically like a raw and behind the scenes look at what it takes to build a podcast from the ground up. Now, some of you guys also might be wondering, like, what is the day-to-day behind running a podcast? And I think the day-to-day in the initial days has always been cold emailing, cold DMing, and reaching out to guests. So that's the first kind of thing I would say. The second thing I would say is it's been primarily a process of just probability, to be honest, and you're not really sure who's going to respond to you, but when they do respond, that kind of helps to build that one yes could turn into a network effect. It could turn into compounding into more guests. So I mean, you just have to be open to anybody coming on your podcast, sharing the story and the work. So the next thing I'll talk a bit about is documenting your journey. So I think some people that have really nailed this documenting your journey type content are the Sachin and Adam show, and they have this vlog that they run called the Founders Life, and it's really engaging and very well put together. And also Alif, so there's this person called Omar who used to work, or he currently works at Founders Inc. in SF. So he runs this like accelerator basically for Muslim founders called Alif, and he's also got some engaging content through his kind of work that he's doing to document the journey. And I think that's a really important part of your journey, is to document it. And so the one way that I've kind of been documenting my journey is through like tweets or X posts on X, and also I've been trying to document my journey through this as well, through this journey thing series that I'm starting, which is going to be just a raw and behind the scenes look, like just me talking in front of a camera, explaining everything that's been going on and my thesis and what's happening. And yeah, so I guess the main thing you can do to document a journey is you can just go on these platforms like X, like LinkedIn. There's a variety of platforms out there, and YouTube as well, and you can just start creating these videos where you just talk in front of a camera, you just speak your mind, you just share your thoughts, your like what's going on. And this really helps to like build that connection as well with anybody who's like listening, who's like watching you, and they kind of feel more involved in what you're building. And so that's kind of why I've started this new experiment. After seeing some other people out there doing the same, I've decided like just go for it, and just put myself out there, document my journey more, and show people what I'm building. So I think that leads into my next point, which is about showing your work and documenting your journey. And I think showing my work has definitely helped a lot. Like, I've gotten so many opportunities because I've showed my work in public. Like, I got a very interesting DM recently. I can't reveal much about it because I honestly don't know enough about the opportunity to like share it in public. But that happened because they saw some of my recent work that I'd posted on my podcast, and it's brought in me a lot of connections as well. Like, I know like more people in Bangalore maybe than I know like back home here in Singapore. And that's because of my podcast and the communities I was part of, and I was leveraging these communities. So that brings me into my third point, which is like how you can show your work in a non-salesy way with context, and how you can galvanize people to like root for you, support you and stuff. So like when I was in these communities, like for example, one of the best communities I know out there, which is called Fueler, created by Retain and Anshu and team. So I just used to post like my wins, and like everybody knew me kind of because I was posting my wins, because I was sharing like what was going on. Like, I can't share all the details, like that's why I have like my own separate WhatsApp group which I'm experimenting with, and in that group I share mainly like my insights about like what I'm learning behind the scenes. Like for example, in one of the episodes, like one of the guests' cat suddenly got in the way, so they had to like take the cat out of the room, and so stuff like that is not going to go into the real episode. And that leads me into my thesis, which is that to cut out all the non-valuable parts of the podcast. So this includes things like behind the scenes, like the cat incident, or any other kind of things that are not insights and not stories. So that's my thesis, and I'll be also sharing more in YouTube and my WhatsApp group. So I'll attach the link somewhere so you can join the WhatsApp group. But in all honesty, I think what's next for me is I want to really reduce the frequency, the amount of episodes coming out in this like September. So I won't be recording any episodes in September, and then after September, because I'll be going on a bit of a holiday outside the country, and then after September as well, I won't be putting out too many episodes on audio channels at least. YouTube might be a bit more consistent there, because I think the thesis is, for me at least, that YouTube is going to be a major part of the strategy for the podcast growth strategy. And I think YouTube is really key here, and that's why I've tapped in and I've brought in a few folks to help me with the YouTube game, and they've been very generous to help me with the YouTube game, like in terms of making the thumbnails and stuff like that. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of help from them, like one guy in particular called Jay, and he's worked with a bunch of these like cool creators out there. And so it's through his help, through his support, through the community support, that I've been able to kind of, get this podcast off the ground, and it's doing pretty decently. Like I also have an email update, which is another experiment I'm running. And in this email update, I'm primarily sending like my stats, my entire thing that I'm working on, anything that I'm doing, it's all shared in that email update. So you can DM me if you want to join that email update, and you just need to DM me your email address, and then I'll get you on the update. And so that's what I'm experimenting with. I've done that email update, I think, consistently now for the past more than 2 months at least, I can say for a fact. And now this week was actually a really exciting week. Like the week just hasn't ended yet, so there's still 2 more podcasts to go, I think, on Friday planned. And this week I also had the opportunity to talk with a phenomenal person called Akshat, who's building Arya, a hacker house in Dubai, and also was a founding team member at Antler MENA and Australia. So let's see if we're able to get him on the podcast. Fingers crossed for that. And yeah, the fight's still on. We're still trying to get grants, still trying to apply for grants, still trying to just get more capital into the podcast so that we can grow and scale this into something big. And also another thing I didn't really share is like my approach to signaling, like how I'm going to get all these big name guests on. And I think it's going to be because of the quality content that we're going to be putting out in the next few months, hopefully, which is going to signal to the industry that, and the big shots out there and whoever is listening, that, this is a podcast that they want to be on, and this is a podcast which can have enough distribution, enough leverage, enough everything that they want to come on, they want to share the insights. And so I'll be starting off some experiments. Let's see how they go, like more shooting my short posts, more trying to reach out to the PR teams and stuff like that, and just see how does that go. So thanks for tuning in today. This was a under 10-minute video, and I'll be trying to do more of these kind of just chatting in front of the camera type videos, and hope this was useful.